Good morning, everyone. My name is Anna Felt. I'm from UN Women in New York, Women's Economic Empowerment Section. I'm so excited to be here today. We are going to discuss a very exciting topic about innovation and virtual learning and learning for life. And before we get started, you see a fabulous panelist. They will introduce themselves as we get started. You have already met Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka from UN Women Executive Director yesterday. But I would like us all to reflect a little bit about virtual learning and education in general. About 100 years ago, education was for very small groups, for privileged people. The teacher would come in the home and teach those who could afford to bring a teacher to the home. What has happened since is that education has become for everyone. Many countries have made education compulsory, and children, both girls and boys, are going to school, and it's become a product that is delivered to the masses. What we like to discuss today is how new frontier technologies can actually combine the two approaches, deliver education to the masses, but in a very specific, targeted way, how we can localize, how we can personalize learning with the help of technology. So many of the speakers today have background in technology, innovation, and we are so excited to be hearing from them. Just on another point and different angle, we have a huge youth bulge in the world, particularly in Africa, where 70% of the population is younger than 30 years old. What does that mean? It means that we need a lot of teachers. Actually, in Africa, we need 70 million new teachers. And how are we going to keep up with this? It costs a lot of money. And is there a way that we can use technology to help and make sure that every child, boy and girl, will be accessing education and learning opportunities? And what we also need to do, we need to bridge the silo between education and employment. Education system is not always targeted towards what is requested in the labor market. And how can we make these bridges? How can we use partnership and make sure that we build that bridge? Finally, the aim of this session is to showcase these kind of technologies and innovation and how it can be used for learning opportunities for women, job seekers, and entrepreneurs, and for learning in general. So I would like to ask our panelists, we will do it in an informal way, and everybody will answer a question. And I would like you to also raise your hand if you would like to participate in the discussion. We will give some time at the end for you to also raise your questions if you have specific to the panelists. But I would like to start with Randa. If you could please introduce yourself and also talk a little bit about your vision for innovation and learning.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So good morning, everyone. My name is Randa Tahir, and I've been working and playing and experimenting and living in creative thinking and innovation for the past 15 years, mainly in Canada, lately in the UAE, and anyway, while I am traveling from here to there, anywhere in between. So I think my vision for innovation in learning specifically, number one is to get out of our subject-specific type of learning in schools, because this is part of the industrial age and we are past that. So you have one class in math and then one class in science and then one class in English, but then you don't easily relate to them. So that type of thinking is not the way we live our lives. So it shouldn't be the way that we educate our kids. So this is one of the things that I'm hoping in the future will change. The other thing is, how can self-learning be more empowered? So how can we reach, not the content, because the information is now easily accessible everywhere, but the context, like how can someone who doesn't go to a formal school learn what they need to learn in order to thrive in their lives? So that's something else that both technology and looking at it from the human perspective, like what is the context, what is going on in their lives, this is where I think the future will have a more empowering vision.
Thank you. Dima?
Yes, good morning, and thank you for the great introduction. My name is Dima Najm. I'm the Managing Director of Education for Employment in the UAE. So this is in the heart of what we do at Education for Employment, because we exist to bridge that gap between the skills that are in demand in the labor market and what our youth are equipped with through the education system. So for me, the vision and what I expect from virtual learning is everything. The sky is the limit when it comes to technology. The sky is the limit when it comes to hindering breaking those barriers that has been hindering the development of humankind and has been systematically in our way and preventing us from getting the knowledge that we all seek. Since we were kids, it was for us, we had all these questions, and it was really difficult for us to find answers. For me, I was lucky enough and privileged because I had a dad who was a human encyclopedia. So basically, he was my Google. I didn't need to look for information because A, he had thousands of books, B, he was really knowledgeable. But for others, they might not be advantaged and they might not find ways to access knowledge. For me, virtual learning and e-learning is the way for the future. This is the tool that will enable young people, enable women from accessing unlimited knowledge, from being educated in a very personalized way that will be attracting for them, that will be inspiring, and that will help them reach their potential.
Thank you. Belle?
Good morning, everyone. Very glad to be here with you. Pleasure and an honor to be with the other panelists as well. I'm extremely excited about virtual learning. And I do think that not only the technology component, but how technology can play out with behavior, it's what's really interesting. So I have a very technical background. I'm from Brazil, but I went to MIT. I did computer science there. And until 6 years ago, I thought that technology was heavy technology. I had to be very technical, and that's how I would get the top 1% of things I learned, and I would share this top 1% with the world. And as an entrepreneur, I've always liked doing experiments. In 2012, when social media started to grow, I was living in Silicon Valley, and I decided to write a free ebook on things I had learned in Silicon Valley. Just one more experiment in life, nothing that was supposed to be big. These 18 chapters on how simple things changed in my life. So this book went viral, 7 million downloads. It was crazy. But I learned something there, which was, I thought that I would have to get extremely technical, and the hardest things I knew and share those. But in the end, what truly matters is if you are able to democratize what you've learned in a way that more people understand that as well. So based on what I've learned, I started Fazinova. It's an online school for all ages, adults, young and old. And what we do, we focus on 3 main topics. One is cultures around the world. What can you learn about different cultures around the world? 2 is new professions, social media, data science. And 3 is behavioral skills, creativity, curiosity. But everything we teach is through a behavioral standpoint. So I want to give you an example, just because sometimes we're thinking about heavy technology, but there are bigger problems, even for people who have access to technology. I'll give you a very simple example. There is a college in Brazil, 92-year-old college, was the first college in Latin America to have a 4-year college degree on social media. Great college degree, they put together something amazing. They are a big college with thousands of students, and they wanted to do a pilot class 3 years ago when they created that with 60 people, very small for them. So they're now in the 3rd year. They still don't have 60 people. Why? Because even though hundreds, thousands of people want to apply when they're 17, 18, people want that. They go back to their homes and they say, Mom, I decided I'm going to apply to this social media 4-year college degree. The mom turns and says, you're not going to be a fashion blogger. Because for the mother, social media is being a fashion blogger, which is also great, by the way. I could talk about many benefits of what fashion bloggers can bring to the world. But there is a point on democratizing how some things that are already part of our life exist. So for me, the most exciting use of technology right now in virtual learning is being able to do a reality translation, being able to get different topics and translate reality in a way that people understand how there is a future they are already living in and they don't know. And for me, the internet and technology can help bridge that gap and help reality translation get to everyone who has access. Yeah.
Thank you. Sandy, what is your vision?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Sandy Tantra from Google Asia Pacific. Very honored, humbled to be here and then be part of this panelist. I mean, hearing already three ladies, right? I second everything that they said. So coming from Google, our first founder's letter basically mentioned that our goal is really to develop services that improve lives. And then in our mission, we said it, that we want to organize the world information to make it universally accessible and useful. So the keyword is there, accessible and useful. So that's why we set our task, our resources to really rally into that and making sure that we develop product services that are free and available for everyone. And I think the keyword that Belle already mentioned is a democratization of that. And that's the essence of making sure that the content, the learning, and even how people are taking the most of technology and also the content available on the e-learning system is there. And then we are amazed to see how people, that's also another key component that's very important to understand, that when people is being given or is having access to technology and then information that is coming from there, they make magic happen. They turn things, they change lives. They create amazing things like what these ladies have been doing. So that's the key, and then that's what we are set ourselves to do. We really wanted to take part of, making sure that technology is accessible for everyone, and that's what we are doing through our programs, through our products, our services, and be part of this conversation, obviously.
Thank you, Sandy. Hedi?
My name is Pumzile. You would have heard from me yesterday. My vision about technology is the capacity for technology to bridge the issue of access to the largest number of people who do not have access to quality education. Because if we are going to address the issue of access, universal access in particular, through the traditional means, it's just not going to happen, and it's going to take a long time. The good thing about technology is scale. That at a press of a button, you can reach millions of people. It can also reach those that are furthest in the line, who are least likely to be reached by anybody. You can stabilize moving parts. In other words, the content that is generated in a university in Oxford can reach a kid in Qwaqwa in the same quality that was generated in Oxford. So that is an important part on ensuring that everyone has the same kind of quality of learning and opportunity. The other thing is cost, that even though you have to invest upfront for the startup cost to build the systems, in the fullness of time, it is the most cost effective, because you can then push a lot of content. If you're talking about education and children in particular, you don't lose the book, you don't tear the page, it is not caught up in rain. So you addressed a number of critical issues that are dividing those who have technology haves and the technology have nots. I am not a tech person, unlike these clever ladies. I come from a social scientist background, but in my PhD, I started access to technology using mobile phones in resource-poor schools. In other words, trying to bridge the use of technology by the non-tech people. And there's a particular way of engaging with those people, and one of them is simplicity. So it is also very important that we make technology as simple as possible so that those who are technophobes can also feel comfortable using technology. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Sandy, you were talking about the importance of being accessible and useful. How has e-learning been effective so far in increasing women's and girls' access to learning opportunities?
Yeah, I think you mentioned it earlier as part of your introduction. It really did revolutionize the learning system. As you mentioned, maybe a century ago, it was only for the privileged ones. And then startling and slowly it's being democratized, through schools, through the intervention from the government. And now, thanks to technology, it really is available for everyone. And I think that's the key, two components or two key benefits of virtual learnings here. It really is about accessibility and also making sure that it's easily being accessed by everyone, right? So the effectiveness is there on the key of scale as well as easily being accessed anytime, 24/7, whenever you want it, wherever you are. Just from my personal experience, nowadays when I take a train ride or a bus ride or a car ride I'm Indonesian, and then I live in Jakarta, you know that traffic in Jakarta is notorious. And you spend like an hour sitting in traffic without doing anything. So imagine if it was 20 years ago when you're sitting in traffic, maybe there wasn't any traffic 20 years ago, but imagine if there was a traffic as bad as in Jakarta and you're sitting there for 3 hours and 2 hours, you cannot do anything. You couldn't do anything, right? But now, with a click, with a touch on your smartphone, you can access any learning contents out there. So it really is effective, and then we are really humbled to see, through our programs, through our product and services, billions of people are having that eagerness of accessing content. And then the hunger coming out of that, I had a goosebump just now. To see is amazing. And then how they create things coming out of that information is mind-blowing. My favorite example, and just very recently being released, is that a father of this young girl create a prosthetic eye for her from scratch, doing it by himself, a self-taught, only from learning from YouTube and the other learning platforms. And that's amazing. I think that really is what keeps us going as a company, to see that magic happens whenever that people are assessing information, learnings, technology. And then specifically for women and girls, we do see a lot of gaps happening. And that's why we also setting specific programs dedicated to that, making sure that women and girls, quoting UN Women's, that they are not left behind. So we are doing a lot in nurturing them, skilling them, educating them through the institution. So we are doing an education program going to the schools, colleges, universities, and then working with the institution to really institutionalize e-learning as part of their programs. But beyond that, making sure that our platforms are available with content learnings that is readily be used by women and girls everywhere. So one of the programs that really close to my heart is Women Will, where we're really educating. For example, we're going to the rural India, and then we're making sure that women in rural India and girls knows how to access technology and internet. And then from there, we follow their footsteps, and we see, magic happens. They change their community. They improve their farming. They create a new blouse design that really basically sell 3 times more than before. So it improves life. It opens up the door of opportunity. I think that's really is what's amazing to see. And then we really hope that going forward, we can work with a lot more organizations and making sure that e-learning is available for everyone.
Thank you, Sandy. So, Belle, we talked earlier about it's online learning is not just about taking a textbook, making it into a PDF and put it online. That's not what it is about. So if you could talk a little bit about the quality and the work that you do in actually enhancing the experience of the learning and not just transferring offline to online content.
Perfect. I actually think this is a very interesting and important point. Like, we need to celebrate every little thing we do around online education, but we need to be very thoughtful not to get stuck in the small victories we have and stop there. I'm going to build an example just comparing to the ed space, talking about Google. So every time we get anything and we put from offline to online, the online world almost always copy the offline world in the beginning. So let's talk about advertisement, right? Now we have very robust models that understand what people are looking for and that understands behavior online. In the beginning, when it started, it copied the offline world. We have outdoors in the offline world, there was banners that were not targeted at all. It was just this one banner for everyone who would access that. So that's the online world copying the offline world. That was not different with education. So there are some platforms, and they are relevant. But what they're doing is taking the content that is offline, recording it, and putting it online. This is a victory. This is good. It's good we have that because we have access. But that's not what I believe the internet and technology is in for. I think if we get stuck in that, we're really selling short what we can do. So with what we can do online, the 2.0, 3.0, 4.0 versions is not just recording what is offline, especially because the offline world has been outdated as well. Like, I mean, education has evolved less than cars even, right? We're stuck in an old world and we're copying the old world online. It's not going to work. I mean, we're excited about some things, but unfortunately, some great initiatives have no completion rates. Everyone gets excited, they sign up to the course, they do 10 minutes, and they leave, right? I mean, they don't get engaged. So what I believe is extremely important is that you use technology to understand behavior and to get people to engage and learn through things that are really important for everyone else. And when I talk about behavioral skills, I'm talking about empathy, I'm talking about collaboration, I'm talking about innovation, I'm talking about leadership. How do you do that online, right? How can you do it? So you can do that through technology. There is a lot you can do. Like, in a simple manner, one of the programs we have, we connect the online and the offline world because hybrid models are very powerful as well. And there's lots of cool things you can do when you connect both of them. I'll give a small example. We have this one program called Dream Acting. We get people who are very different, of very different backgrounds with different challenges. So there may be a mayor of a city, someone who runs a video production company, someone who is an executive, someone who is an M&A lawyer, someone who builds jewelry. So we connect these people who are different. They first go through an online course, but here's the catch. Online, everyone is anonymous. And there are fictional characters in the middle. So again, this is not crazy technology. It's just smart content with good technology. So you go, you don't know who you're talking to, so there's no bias. You don't know who you're listening to, the other people are anonymous. Second, there are fictional characters. People are more willing to help fictional people than real people because they think, if I do a mistake, I'm not making a mistake, you know? So there's interesting cases, like a yoga teacher who opened a yoga studio and now she doesn't know how to handle the yoga studio because she's a yoga teacher, not a businesswoman. So you have these cases, and as they go through the program, anonymously, with people they don't know, no bias, they don't know the gender, they don't know the age, they don't know how rich they are, they solve each challenge of the fictional characters online. And all of this is a big excuse for one output. When you hear a fictional character talking about their problems, you realize how bad we are at well-defining what we need. We're very bad at that. For example, the yoga teacher, she's wondering if she should change the decoration or if she should change the space that she has. She needs an accountant or she needs to learn about accounting. But usually, like, if there's a domino effect and you want to get the last piece of the domino, sometimes we get stuck in the domino, last piece, not looking at the domino piece that is right next to us that can create the ripple effect we want. So the whole online course is just a big excuse. So everyone goes down to one thing that is well-defined, that is solvable, that they want to bring to the one-day live component. Well, long story short, they come to this the one day, they meet each other, super cool, oh, you were that. And then everyone together, collaboratively, say how they would solve these problems. And these are some very specific questions, like someone who runs a truck company and a medical doctor say how they would solve it. And the big thing for me here is that problems are not unique, mistakes are not unique, solutions are not unique. And if you agree with that, and you want to get pieces of what people are talking about and apply to your challenge, you can create a domino effect. So for me, the smart solutions that you can have online, for now, it's not crazy technology yet. But through getting the behavior right, you can create adaptive learning. You can map how people are getting better in some very relevant behavioral skills, which are very important. So that's my vision to what we're building, and I think more people should be going in that direction. Like, I freak out when I see just people recording and put it online. Recording, it's okay, great, it's better than nothing, but don't stop there. Don't celebrate, that's the end. Celebrate as a step. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yes, I was just on to you. You can build on that, but I know that you work on
Yes,
also.
I have to. So I have something I want to just, like, this is an amazing experiment. And the way I see it, one thing, you took away the element of people judging other people. Because this is what we do. When we first enter a room, the minute you see someone in a certain way, there is a click in your head, whether it's good or bad. It's just something you say, okay, this person is so-and-so. And it takes you like milliseconds. You don't even think about it. So by doing this experiment, you actually took away this. So I don't know if I'm speaking with someone with the same expertise as mine, or different, or younger, or older, or I have absolutely no bias.
And you let people surprise you.
And I'm just listening to the ideas. And the surprise part is a big issue in creating the self-learning. When you're thinking about innovation, when you get surprises, when I'm coming actually face to face, and it's like, who am I going to meet today, right? That's like that. This excitement actually prepares my mind to think in more creative ways, instantly. So every time you're able to add elements of surprise and remove those judgment barriers, then you are closer to become more like constantly innovative, not just when you want to press the innovation button.
Thank you. I was just about to ask you, because I think it was a good follow-up. If you could talk a little bit about how you're introducing the culture of innovation in the workplace, because
Okay.
I think that links very much to how we create that sense of innovative thinking in
Yes.
general.
So that is one part of it, when you are trying to figure out what experiments could I do and learn from it. But when you look at, in general, the culture of innovation, specifically in organizations, so people wherever they are working, it's very elusive, it's very intangible. What do you mean by culture? Well, it's how people relate to each other, their attitude to work, their behavior, things that you cannot really test. Do they trust each other? Do they collaborate? So how do you do that? If you don't have this basis, then you cannot just say, okay, tomorrow we're going to be an innovative company. Or tomorrow we're going to have an innovative idea. Let's brainstorm, right? So what do you need to do to have this basis? Number one, look at your organization, look at the place you're working, look at the team you're working. Either you look as a person who is in charge of doing something different, or even as just a member of the team. Observe it, but with a different mindset than you're observing your colleagues. So if you are a manager, or if you are a person who's in charge of a project, and you're looking at this project, reflecting on it, usually you say, okay, I need to fix this, I need to change that. That's not the mindset that you want to do when you want to see if you actually have a culture of innovation. You want to look at it as a person who doesn't know anything about it. So usually people bring expert or consultants, but you don't need that. You just need either you shift your mindset for it, or if you're a big organization, bring someone from a different department who knows nothing about your department, or from a different branch, and ask them to observe you. How do you work? And then make a list of what are the things that I'm actually looking for. I want you to see, how do we work with each other? Do we smile in the morning, or we like, right? So what's our face, like how are we helping each other when we are facing a problem? Then, do we have time to actually come up with ideas? Are we allowed time? Are we allowed time to slow down in order to develop a new way of thinking? If you look at innovation, it's either a new idea or a new way of thinking or looking at something, or even a new way of doing something, right? So do we allow the time to come up with the ideas? Do we allow the time to experiment with ideas? Am I giving you the resources? Do you have the knowledge or access to knowledge? Can you ask me anything? Can you ask anyone anything? Once you start noticing these very simple things, you will start to have a sense of your culture, of the culture in the organization. Mind you, the culture that we usually associate with as ethnicity and also that doesn't really help you when you are becoming more innovative. You need to have a diversity of ethnicity and backgrounds and thinking in order to be innovative. But how do you interact with each other? So once you figure out, is there a good level of trust? Do you have an abundance mentality? If you succeed in what you're doing, am I happy for you? Honestly, am I happy for you? Yes. I'm happy for you. So if you see this interaction in your organization and people are honestly celebrating other people's successes and helping them through their failure, and then when they face a challenge, you know, someone else will come and help them regardless if they're getting anything out of it or nothing. So if you have this, then you have a trusting entity or group of people. Then you have something that you're starting with. Then you look at the time that you are allocating. So we're always action-oriented, but you need to reflect, you need to develop, you need to ask the right questions. We usually respond to the right questions. We go after solving the wrong level of the problem that we want. Maybe we need to do it at a very abstract level in order to have the right impact, or maybe we just need to tweak one little thing, and then you get the dominoes effect. So it depends on the questions that you're asking, the level of abstraction that you're asking. So these are the simple thing. And then moving, you know, a little bit more organized. Do you have like an organized creativity process, or whatever way you want to call it? Is there a system for you to get together and generate ideas? Or is it always, let's come and brainstorm? Do you experiment with different ideas, or different ways to generate ideas? Are you dealing with the different learning styles in the room? Because I'm talkative, I'm ready to talk the whole time and give you ideas, and ideas like popcorn, right? It won't stop. But maybe someone else is more reflective and will more get a really concise and specific idea, and they don't want to tell me about it, they need to draw it, they need to draw a diagram of it or explain it or write it. So do you give a chance for everyone to express their ideas their way? Do you have a lot of people in your team that are visual, that they need a lot of pictures? Do you have the space to draw a lot of pictures? Have the place to write your comment on everything that you want to? Are you a kinesthetic learner? Do you need to actually move? Like for me, it is very hard for me to put me in a desk or on a desk or behind a desk or whatever you need, and then tell me, okay, come up with something. It's like, no, I need to see the birds and be distracted and go outside and see what people are doing. So are you giving me the chance to come up with the ideas the way that I need to? Is there autonomy? So these are the things that you're actually looking for. Do I have this already? If not, fine, let's make them. Because you will have your own way of doing things, and if you have been successful, then it's hard for you to stop and see, what did I miss? Who did I miss behind? Are people leaving me because they really found something better, especially the good people, or because they're not getting a chance to be more innovative? I'm actually blocking them. Even if I'm very successful, I'm blocking their way of being successful. So am I giving them the autonomy that they need? Am I giving them the chance to become or to gain mastery of their skill? Do I have a process of organized creativity? Is there a way for me to come up with ideas and then to experiment with it? I mean, yes, if you have a budget, give me money and let me test it. If you don't, it's not end of the day. Like, do you give me resources, give me time, give me people, give me minds, give me anything that will let me do it. I had the pleasure actually of working with a number of managers throughout my career that will either tell me, I love your idea, I have zero budget for you. Go do it. Oh, well, I need budget. Go do it. You know, figure out a way to do it and go ahead and do it. So it helped me. Or they will tell me, this is what I need to be done by the end of this week. I don't care if you come to work or not. It just needs to be done. So I didn't come to work. And I found my way, found my place to do whatever I need to do. And I got it before the end of the week. So do you offer this chance? And again, if you say no, but they have to come because they have to, you know, to put their fingerprint and all that, then there is a trust issue. If you're not trusting me to do what I need to do, then look again at what is your culture.
Thank you so much, Randa. It reminds me actually of a project that we have in UN Women, a platform, empowerwomen.org. And we started off with a mandate to have a knowledge platform with resources on women's economic empowerment. For anyone, we have thousands of publications on women's economic empowerment. But what we wanted was to engage with the users of the platform. And we didn't really know how to. And we said, you know, we need to reach them. And we started a champion program. But what happened was, yes, we started to reach more and more champions, but at the same time, they were asking us, so what do you have for us? We need to learn. We want to learn about how to drive gender equality, how to be better advocates. We want to learn how to do it within our companies, within our organizations. And so we, all the time with the response from the users on empowerwomen.org, we had to come up with new solutions. And what I will talk a little bit later is what came out of it. It was actually what we have built now, a prototype learning management system to systematize all the requests that we have received from our champions. So I can talk a little bit about that later. But I would like to give a chance to Dima to talk a little bit about how online learning can develop essential skills for life and how you can become nimble in taking and learning new things to be successful both as an employee, as an entrepreneur, and for life more broadly.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So online learning is basically the tool. What's on that tool is the things that we create. Over the time, skills has been changing. For example, in 2015, active listening was one of the top 10 skills. Now it's not anymore. So our role working in the education system is to identify these skills, first of all, and making sure that we're providing them through the online learning or virtual learning or actual in-class learning. For example, in Education for Employment, we identified that some youth might not really commit to online learning, so we have to blend it somehow with, pure learning plus online learning, just to make sure that they are committed to that. So we have to find ways of how we offer that knowledge and how we offer the skills. As for skills, basically whatever you learn to advance your career or whatever you learn as an entrepreneur is something that will be used both in your career, in your work life, and it will be also a treasure that will help you in managing your own life personally. So the way that you deal with your children at home is not really different from the way that you deal with clients or colleagues. You have to negotiate. You have to manage them in a way that excites them and make them do the right things. So basically, it's all linked, whether it's skills for life or whether it is skills for the career. For example, our youth, when they come to our workshops, or when they come or join the training, for example, in Egypt, sometimes they lack the confidence. They do have the information, they do have the skills, but they don't have the confidence that is much needed for them to land that first job, to go into that interview and make sure that they are promoting themselves correctly and they are, telling the right story. So for us, self-confidence is extremely important, and we do make sure that our youth have these skills. A lot of those skills are also not limited to in class. A lot of them can be developed through online, and as my colleagues here talked about, the reach of online, the way that online can actually break barriers, and the way that online can help knowledge expand exponentially. Provide these young people, or even adults, or even children across the world with the skills that we think will help them not only in their careers, but also to lead a successful life. And of course, minimizing the conflict that we're seeing across the world right now is pretty much related to these skills.
Thank you.
Can I add
I'm
to
glad that you brought up the point. In fact, parenthood is a crash course in leadership. You learn so many skills as a parent to negotiate, conflict resolution. There's so many of those skills, and I think as a woman, our employers also need to understand the skills that we're coming with, and also for them to give us the opportunity to be home with children, so that we are building those skills in this way. But I think, Sandy?
I just want to add on that. It's very interesting to see and then learn, at least from our researchers, and meeting and chatting and discussing with a lot of women and girls throughout the entire programs that we are running. Actually, community is key on sustaining the education or the learning cycle. So even though it's not only, it's an online learning, but community online is also a very effective kind of ways of sustaining the learning. And I think everyone is agreeing to that. And then even for me, myself, personally, that's also how I keep up my kind of learning system. Really, it's making sure that I meet these wonderful ladies, and then learning a lot of things from there, and then immediately assessing the content, the learnings, and making sure that I share that to other people, to other women, to other girls. And I think that's what is amazing to see as well, that people, when they are given this kind of sort of a sense of responsibility, that they are responsible to another people in their life, that's how the cycle of learning is going through.
Thank you. I see we have a little bit time, so I'm going to speed up a little bit on the question. If you could talk a little bit, maybe a combination of 21st century training and learning and education. How does it look like? And what are those 21st century skills? What is new? What is it that the labor market is asking for us? And also specifically what your organization is doing in this field. I would also like to ask Edie if you could also talk a little bit about partnerships, the importance in this space of partnerships, and that we no longer can work alone, and that the more we create coalitions and partnerships, that we can actually deliver much more successfully.
Yes, partnerships are actually critical and made more possible by what technology enables us to do. We have, for instance, ourselves a global partnership with the different technology companies, and through this partnership, you are facilitating the change of the ecosystem within those companies, because you have people that will facilitate the change in those companies to think more about the needs of women and girls. Rather than me being a speaker in an annual event of a company to lobby them about women and girls, you actually have a partnership where people within that company become the people that are using their everyday work to make the point, and therefore hopefully to change the system from within. But when we collaborate with them, then we learn from them and they learn from us. And together we take our learning experience to a bigger audience. So in the presence of technology, you have an instant connection with each other and potentially a bigger impact together to the bigger audience that you want to reach out to. There's a particular group that I think we need to think about to partner with and to support, and this is teachers. In many countries, teachers are people who are in my age, 60-ish. And I think we still, a lot of us in the education system, and we're not as techno-savvy as the younger people. And it is important to invest in the buy-in of that group so that they can become easy facilitators of adoption of technology by the younger people in the most strategic way. And at the same time, to pay attention to the younger people who are in education, who are not themselves technology savvy, but have this amazing access to young people on a constant basis because they are educators. If, as you were saying, they are going to be using the traditional way and cutting and pasting from the offline world to the online world, then this unique position they have of being teachers is not being used to transform society. The same can be said about how teachers can play a role in advancing gender equality and advancing power relations. Not unless we invest in teachers to play that role and to play it through offline and online teaching, we miss an opportunity. So I'm just pitching for teachers. Let us invest in teachers and make sure that they are a critical part of the 21st century because they occupy a privileged place in society to reinvent society for the best or to keep us stagnant in the old world.
Sandy?
Yeah, so talking about 21st century skills, I mean, there are a lot of skills that are required nowadays compared to, obviously, a century ago. Because I am from Google, I will touch on two things, which are digital literacy and what I really like, there is someone who coins the term of information literacy. Really is taking the information coming out of the online learning, coming out of technology, and then how making the best out of that. So that really is what is required. And then if we go down throughout the whole spectrum of digital literacy, that's where we see differences in terms of, okay, what are the contents, who are the target audience, who are the people who need it the most, and then what are the systems to get through them. So first, obviously, is about making sure that they understand what's technology and what's the use or how to operate, for example, internet. And then going through until the end of the spectrum where people already accessing internet to the max, and then they understand what are the products, the services that are available, and they understand and they create and they produce something out of that. But even then, these people also need to disseminate that, helping others, making sure that, you know, as I mentioned before, community learnings, making sure that other people are going to get affected. So the whole cycle and the whole ecosystem. And then in Google, we have this mindset of making sure that what we are doing, we always getting obsessed on making sure what we are producing, what we are delivering, what we are doing in general is hitting the target, the core pain point. That's how we call it. Really making sure that we understand how is the best or what is the best way to solve the problem. Obsessing over an issue that can be solved with potential solution from technology. And then this is what our founders and what our CEOs has always talked about every single week throughout the employee. So having this mindset, having this growth mindset is enabling us also to making sure that when we go out and meet women and girls specifically, because that's what I'm doing, we first sitting down and understand what do they need. For example, if they need content, if they need knowledge, if they need learnings around how to make the best out of what I have in hands, devices, smartphones, internet. So then we equip them with, you know, the breadth of information available out there. And to Dr. Pamsili's point on making sure also the previous generation, if you're talking about, if you're talking about youth, obviously there's a generation before that. And then the entire generation within this 21st century is probably coming from baby boomer until the post-millennials, if in the marketing world we have those terms. That each of the generation understand what does it take to make sure that the flows of information and the flows of learning is there. For example, what we are doing in Google is we are going to the schools, making sure teachers understand the importance of equipping the students with digital literacy and information literacy. Vice versa, we're going to the rural India, we're going to rural Vietnam, and making sure that farmers understand where and how they can utilize the information from the internet to improve their farming. And going to US and North America, who has the perfect access to internet and technology, and making sure that women, the young professional, understand how it's best to learn from the internet, from the community, online, how it really is making sure that they can step up, stand up, and pursue their own aspiration. So a lot of the programs that we are doing in the region, Asia Pacific, as well as Europe and North America, is anchored to the point that we need to understand first what do they need, and then deliver whatever that suitable to their needs. And making the whole ecosystem, the whole generation that will disseminate that, and then help in the dissemination process also understand that what it takes to make it happen.
Thank you, Sandy. Belle.
So much to talk about, but I'll be very thoughtful with time. Like, I would like to talk for 3 hours now about this question, but I'll talk 3 minutes. And I'll put some concepts together, and I'll try to be as brief as I can. So there are a couple of ideas that we're bringing to the market that we're really trying to get people to use it as well. So I talked about reality translation. There's a second idea that we bring, which is real-time education. So things that were taught 2 years ago, even if you get the best business school, let's get like to the extreme. You go to the best MBAs and you see what they were teaching 2 years ago. If you try to apply what they were teaching 2 years ago, you make mistakes. It's already old. It's already old. So for us, what you need to do is really learning with the ones who are making it happen right now. Because the ones who are making it happen right now, they have a database of solutions and a database of way of learnings and thinking that can actually get you to learn. So that's one idea, real-time learning. Second thing, and connecting to partnerships and community, and scale, which we brought here, but we didn't talk too much about it. So we believe that with partnerships, with scale, with peer learning, considering that when you think about real-time education, you're learning from other people, you're learning from the ones who are doing things today, we created a different way to get to scale. So just to understand a little bit what we did, we have online courses that are just like Netflix series, so very cool to watch, very fun to watch. We have very high completion rates, totally off the charts considering other companies. People watch it as if they're doing a cool TV series, but they're actually learning and self-learning and learning the 3 topics I mentioned about. So my 21st century skills, the way I got together, even though other things that have been mentioned here, from self-learning to creativity to community learning, like we got down to these 3 things, which is understanding new professions, how behaviorally it changes your day-to-day life, understanding cultures around the world, this is very important, from tolerance to really creativity and curiosity, and behavioral skills. The interesting piece is, when you see what the world needs, when you see the KPIs that companies are looking for, and I'm already talking not on a young level, but on companies, we've put our trainings through different companies that have specific KPIs that they've been measuring for 20, 30, 40 years. And these 3 topics by themselves help people improve every single KPI by themselves. So it's very interesting. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. And on scale, what we did is these courses are 100% free. We do it for free. Over 200,000 people have completed it in Brazil. We have partnerships. So companies like PricewaterhouseCoopers, Montblanc, Nama is a very, very dear partner to us. So 1 month ago, we launched it in Arabic and in English. So this is new for us. We used to do it only in Portuguese. We launched a course on the right mindset to become a protagonist just 1 month ago. We're about to reach 5,000 people with a completion rate of about 70%. This is a lot. And this is organic, you know, like, sorry, we don't invest in Google Ads. This is organic. People get excited, they invite other people, it's peer learning as well. So to finish off the point there, with partnerships, we did the 200,000 people who are doing it, but we created things around it to bring awareness to this. So we have free ebooks, we have different video sessions that are smaller than the courses. Through that, we reached over 30 million people in Brazil and Latin America. And now, of course, our dream is to do it all over the world. But there's a lot of things you can do in terms of scale if you get the right partnerships. There's a lot of things you can do with just a couple of different pillars. And I'm not saying my pillars are the correct one. Different people may focus on different pillars. But when they connect to actual KPIs of the world, they are really relevant. And the last thing is because the way we build things, we just want to trigger one small action that gets people to feel in their veins, in their blood, that it works. Small little things, because then they experience it once, they keep going. You break the skeptical thing. So that's a little bit of what I believe in terms of skills. Yeah.
Thank you. Dima?
Well, I mean, nothing much left to say with all the great input, but I would like to focus on two things here. The first one is, as you mentioned, the learning needs to be now. It's not the past. Whatever skills that were, as we mentioned earlier, whatever skills that were important in the past, nowadays, it's changing. One skill that is extremely important, and it is extremely important in any line of work, is being digital. Nowadays, even if you are working in a hotel, even if you are a concierge, even if you are a helper who's working in a hotel, you will need to be a digital person, because you will have probably a tablet or iPad where you will be updating the things that you did and the orders, and everything is digital nowadays. So this is one skill that is needed in mostly all of the things that we will do in the future. From that, what I would like to focus on is that when we teach youth, when we teach people who are going to go into the labor forces, we need to make sure that we are communicating with HR, we are communicating with the people who are developing the skills, who are monitoring this, who have the KPIs, who are keen on having the best. These are the right people to communicate with in order to identify the skills that youth need or people need to be successful at what they do. So for us at Education for Employment, this is the first step that we do. We don't just decide that, okay, now we are teaching 25 youth, for example, about hospitality. We decide that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are the skills that are right for them. No, we meet with the HR, we meet with the person who knows exactly what they want, and then based on that conversation, based on that analysis, based on that market assessment, we decide with them what are the skills that they need in their youth, because sometimes it's different from one country to the other. For example, we operate in 7 countries across the MENA, and each country has different skills that they need to work on their youth. So basically, it is not one specific set of skills in Egypt, and it is not one, that can be applied in Morocco or Algeria or in Palestine or Jordan. It has to be customized. It has to be in collaboration and in partnership, again, with employers and with people who have real-time knowledge of what are the skills.
Thank you. Randa, and then I would like to ask the audience if you have any questions. Good, so get ready. Randa.
So I'm a big cheerleader for teachers. And I'll tell you my answer in imagining this story. Wait, I need to sit right. So, all right, so imagine you are a teacher, right? But then you're not actually teaching the students any specific subject. You are facilitating their own learning. They need to decide what they want to learn. So they will tell you, I'm interested in this, and I don't want to sit in this room. I want to sit outside. You take them outside. So you are emphasizing being curious. What do you want to learn? I want to go outside and learn about the different plants. So, okay, you're interested in biology. Okay, go and figure out what you need. You have access to information, and then come and tell us what did you find out. Someone else will say, I'm interested to, actually, I don't want to learn anything right now. I don't feel like it. I'm tired. I want to go on my skateboard. Fine. Go on your skateboard, move around a little bit, and then once you figure out what or how things are working for you, come back and tell us. And so forth. So when you're handling these, more than one of these kind of individuals who are going around and doing different things, you're actually focusing on these 21st centuries. Number one is curiosity, playfulness, right? You want them to learn while they're playing, not while they're sitting. It's not normal to learn when you're sitting on the chair. It's not normal for your body to be sitting on the chair all day long. It's not like in your physical body, normal. So why do we do this when we are actually thinking of learning or thinking of becoming more with a growth mindset? When people are able to go and experiment with the things that they are interested in, so you are giving them a chance to become or to have mastery in it. When students actually do the skateboarding, they are learning about aerodynamic, they are learning about space and physics. And there is actually a school that only teaches, only teaches skateboarding and all the subjects through skateboarding. How to build it, so how to build the whole arena, so you're an engineer, and then how to figure out all the different angles that you're going at, so you're into physics and all that. Some schools are built on learning outside, literally within the forest or whatever open area. So they get the students to actually get the information and then teach each other. If they teach it other, actually this is how you learn, because they tell you if you want to learn something, you need to teach it. So why are we forcing all our old information to young generation when they are able to bring back something that is much more stronger and powerful? And in Sajuri, in what we do with the culture of innovation, it's actually that, bringing back the amazing creativity of children back into the hands of adults. Because teachers, if they learn how to become a facilitators rather than content expert, they're actually helping us with all of this. They are helping us become more adaptable and flexible. But then if you're only, okay, I'm here just to teach you this subject and I have nothing else to do, then I'm bored throughout my school years and I'm bored throughout my work years and I'll die bored, right? But give me a skateboard and I won't be bored, right? So that's just, this is how hopefully we're bringing back this creativity into workplace.
Thank you. I hope you all been inspired. I saw there was one question. Yes. Do we have microphone for the audience? Yes, thank you. It's coming. No. Can we get technical support with the microphone? Okay, thanks.
Okay, great panel, awesome perspectives, right? It sounds really good in theory, but in practice, culture plays a huge role if you want innovation to be successful. I know you talked a lot about barriers to innovation. What advice do you have for large corporates who are trying to promote education but are not willing to innovate?
Let's take a few questions at a time so we can wrap up. We have very little time. I don't know what the noise is. So let's take another question. I think there was one there and one here, yes.
Hi, my name is Frami, and I agree with you totally because I tried an experiment in class where I allowed students to bring in the best videos from what they see on social network. I used Facebook as a learning tool, encouraged students to bring in the latest videos from wherever they see it, right? I used to teach marketing, so probably they used to bring, for example, the latest production techniques of Ferrari, for example, or the latest marketing campaign by a new company, for example. And then the learning became more fun because the students were more interested in showing the videos. They used to show off the videos in class, feel happy about being the star for the day, because if their videos are hit in the class, and they learn from the videos because they're talking about marketing strategies or production techniques of Ferrari or stuff like that, but in a more interesting way. And obviously the textbook is outdated because the textbook cannot keep in touch with the latest which is happening. So I believe Facebook is a very important tool, and I did present a paper on it, and I wonder whether anyone else is using Facebook as a learning tool here. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a question there.
Hi, good morning. My name is Annalisa, and I'm a professor at the University of Southern California at the School of Social Work. We have one of the largest programs because of our virtual learning center. And our biggest challenge is not necessarily the virtual space, but once we are teaching innovation and transformation in the virtual space, how then do we take that into the real world space where our students are inhabiting and have them pursue innovation as more than just a concept?
Thank you. So time is up. So what we will do, you will get 30 seconds each to respond to these questions, but I encourage all of you to continue the discussion with the panelists because we have a break and then there are new sessions that need to come in. So very, very quickly we'll go from that side to here.
There was sound when she asked the question. I couldn't get it very fast. What were the barriers to creativity? That was the question?
No, what do you do when a company is resistant towards being innovative?
Oh, okay. So how do we make it persistent?
How do you overcome the persistence? So if you are in a company and you'd like to innovate, you want to improve systems.
Oh, okay.
How do you overcome that in a company when the company is not there to innovate?
Yeah, right? When you are in a very bureaucratic company, it's very hard for you to think immediately outside the box. So maybe the number one step is just to make your box a little bit bigger and just see the things, like try to see what are the things that are actually working and stretch them. Incremental innovation, we call it, right? It doesn't have to be radical. So the small things after you measure what you actually want to measure in the culture.
Thank you.
I would like to comment on the question about innovation in the real world. I'm quite sure that once kids learn how to think out of the box and how to become innovative, they will not stop. Even if they are in a workplace where innovation is not really encouraged, they will still be thinking in an innovative way. And nowadays, young kids and millennials, they choose the place where they want to work based on different criteria. It's not the salary anymore. It's not the position anymore. It's more about the culture, it's more about the innovation, it's more about how, for example, their teacher taught them in school the way that they need to act in the real world is not going to be really different from how they learned in school.
Thank you.
So I'll be very quickly on all three. First one there, I'll give you 3 references of people who are doing it very well, but in different segments. First, check out Minerva Schools. They're very cool. They're close to you. They're in San Francisco. It's very amazing. I won't go into detail because we don't have time. Everyone should check it out. Minerva Schools, great. Second one, there is a school called 42, 42.us. I think there's .org. What they're doing is your question, but just related to very technical skills. How do you transform a coder into someone who can do that in the workplace? And third reference, more conceptual and less in the workplace, but they're doing a good job. There's something called the Gordon Engineering Leadership Program, GELP, at MIT. So 3 things, you can go, you can check it out, and I won't talk why I picked them, you understand why I picked them. Social media, you mentioned Facebook. Even though I'm a very optimistic person. One of my best friends runs VR at Facebook. There's exciting things there that you can do at Google as well. He used to be at Google, it's Zuko Baha. But, so great people, but I'll do a word of warning on what social media can do wrong and what is doing wrong to some people. So there is the explicit learning piece that they are investing on, head-to-head, trying to be there with YouTube and all of this. That's one world. There is another world, though, which is what happens to people when they look at their feeds. So the algorithms that are happening in social media now, they polarize people because they show you what you want to see. And this is really complicated. Like, if you've got into one situation that you think, how come they don't understand? This is so obvious. It's because it's not obvious. And it's because you got to a point that you think you have the right view, and the other person thinks he has the right view. This is extremely dangerous. So I think there is a big point there on social media that needs to be addressed. That is uneducating people. That is making people more racist. It's very complicated. It's very complicated because I understand. You want to show people what they want to see. But you don't want people to just live in what they see and think that's the only word that they believe in. So I think there is a big problem on social media and learning. That's just my word of warning, even though there's other exciting things I could talk about. And just to finish here, you need a champion. You need one champion, one relentless champion. There's a company in Brazil called Facchini. They are 67-year-old company. Truck. They build the back parts of trucks for big companies like Pepsi who need specific trucks. There is one champion who is 45 years old, and he decided to put our courses for all their 2,000 employees. There are people in the factories, there are high managers, there's the legal counsel. One champion who made everyone believe this was interesting, this was important, and it's unbelievable. Like, we've measured the KPIs. In 1 month of training, one of the factories went up by 13%. In terms of sales, 1 month later, their parts and services went up 40%. This is a multi-billion dirham business in Brazil. It's one champion, relentless champion inside. So that's my simple question to that. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Sandy.
Very quick one. So to address the resistance, right, and especially if it is related to culture. So we have a similar kind of situation in Japan, and we want to change, the way that Japanese organizations and business and commercial organizations revolutionize their work. It's actually called work reform. And as you know, in Japan, the society is very, very, very conventional. So what we did, and I think this is to Beth's point, and getting a champion, right? So what we did really is making sure that first step is you show them what is the potential upside if they change something, right? It doesn't have to be major change, just a little change. You need to show them what's the benefit, because otherwise, of course, nobody wants to do anything. And then second thing really is making sure that we help them to provide a solution in terms of, okay, so if I see the benefit, how do I get there, right? So pinpoint benefit and then the solution. So it has to happen, because otherwise, nobody wants to take any changes in their life. I mean, people, human being, by nature, we hate changes, right? So I think that's just a learning from, the program that we are running in Japan, Women Will. And then at the end of the day, really, it kind of like, what is a ripple effect? When one organization, when one champion change things and it produce results, everyone wants to follow. That's just the nature of things. And on Facebook, I agree. I think our word is usually about fake news. Being very mindful, especially if it is about teaching younger generations. And this is going back to, influencing the whole kind of ecosystem and making sure that they are equipped with skills, with, the newest skill in digital literacy and the information literacy. For example, like a lot of teachers, a lot of students who are doing stuff on the social network, they don't differentiate things. And then they just they communicate with each other in that way. So it's really crucial that the teacher themselves understand what it takes to use the platform. The platform is good, right? It's just the content on it, which is being created by other people, is sometimes misleading. So we're making sure that you are grounded on the skills needed to guide your students, to guide whoever, and then creating a safe environment within that platform that will allow, again, community learning and then people to discuss things. I think that just 2 points, yeah.
Thank you.
The two questions.
Today we've spoken a lot about the good things that technology can do. Maybe we didn't speak enough about the things we need to be careful of So we must just remember that there are two sides of the story, and in relation to women especially, there's a lot of things that can go wrong. So we just need to make sure that we also address that. I also just want to say something about transitioning students from learning about innovation to being part of the real world. I think one way of doing that is partnering with civil society organizations, organizations like ourselves, the United Nations, who are always looking for clever people to solve problems pro bono. So these students can come, we can give them real problems with you, so that you supervise them, not us, but together. And they help us to solve real problems. They will have a satisfaction of having used their skills to address a real need. And we will have insights and potentially solutions from an unlikely source. Who is not a consultant that we have to pay a lot of money for.
Yes. Thank you, Edie. So that also brings me to a conclusion. That we are actually working in all of these areas in trying to develop a global learning management system that takes these discussions and factors into account. We Learn is our platform. It's a prototype that we have put up as a response to the requests from all of our champions and women and girls around the world. In the UN Women booth, we have a flyer so you can read, and we would be super excited if you would like to work with us in making this possible. We would like to use the partnerships. We want to reach the scale. We want to be cost effective. We want to be cool and creative and have whatever girls and women need, so that by 2030, we can say that we have achieved gender equality. Yes. So thank you so much, everyone, for coming to our panel.
Thank you.